Hello friends and welcome to my new video. Today I'll be talking about yet another favorite filmmaker of mine, and this particular filmmaker is not just a huge personal favorite but also one of the people I admire for the human being that he is, for the person that he is. And very rarely does one come across a person whose writings, whose worldviews can be as influential and as inspiring as some of his cinema is. And the person that I'm talking about today is one such person. He is none other than Saeed Mirza, one of my personal favorite filmmakers in India. Saeed Mirza's father, Akhtar Mirza, was associated with films, and I think he wrote the screenplay of Mughal-e-Azam, that being one of his biggest works. So Saeed Mirza grew up in an environment which had films in it, and from a young age he was influenced greatly by cinema. He also had a very worldly approach and a cosmopolitan approach, rather, to the world, and he gives his mother full credit for bringing him up the way she did. Anyway, Saeed Mirza finished his college and started working in an advertising firm before his love for cinema took him to FTII in Pune, from where he graduated in 1976. And after that he made a couple of documentary films before making his first feature film in 1978, which was the wonderful Arvind Desai Ki Ajeeb Dastan, starring Dilip Dhawan. Arvind Desai Ki Ajeeb Dastan is a beautiful film. It tackles the lonely and troubled life of the protagonist, Arvind Desai, who comes from a rich family and has a prosperous business. But somewhere inside of him, there is a loneliness, there is a confusion, there is a yawning boredom and a conflict. And he doesn't know how to resolve some of these. And the film is about his struggle to come to terms with himself. It's one of the classic examples of urban alienation, and it's dealt with beautifully by Saeed Mirza. A fine performance by Dilip Dhawan and the supporting cast, but it was mostly a kind of cinema that was rarely seen. Such an individualistic, such a personal. It was almost like a personal statement being made by Saeed Mirza through Arvind Desai, and it was a brilliant beginning. Arvind Desai, I think, won a special jury award in Filmfare, a special critics award on Filmfare. But more than just that, it was a landmark film which would mark the beginning of this wonderful filmmaker. After Arvind Desai in 1980, Saeed Mirza made his next movie, which was the by now iconic Albert Pinto Ko Gussa Kyun Aata Hai, starring Nasiruddin Shah in the title role. And perhaps it's one of his most recognized and loved films. I have Albert Pinto Ko Gussa Kyun Aata Hai on digital format. I don't think any official DVD or Blu-ray came out of it, at least not in India. So I have it in digital format, hence I can't show you a DVD of it. But Albert Pinto is a wonderful movie with a brilliant depiction of one of the minority communities and their struggle for recognition and their struggle for finding their place in society is what Albert Pinto is all about. And it has the backdrop of the plight and troubles of the mill workers of Bombay, which was such an integral part of the 70s and the early 80s. And it's depicted beautifully by Saeed Mirza. Nasiruddin Shah puts in an absolutely flawless performance as Albert Pinto. And it's definitely one of the high points of Saeed Mirza's career as a filmmaker. And it's a must watch. Do watch it. It's available on YouTube as far as I know. It's also perhaps available in some online streaming sites, though as I said, no official DVD was ever released in India. But it's a movie that's worth the hunt and worth watching. Do watch it if you haven't as yet. Albert Pinto ko gussa kyun aata hai. The next movie that Saeed Mirza made was yet another beautiful movie, yet another social satire called Mohan Joshi Hazir Ho. And it was a stinging satire on the legal system of our country and how a common man has to endure so much of hardship and struggle to legally get justice, which looks so obvious and so apparent. And this reality was brought out brilliantly by Bhisham Sahani in his lead role as Mohan Joshi. And there was Nasiruddin Shah, Amjad Khan, and a host of others in the movie with fine performances as well. And it's yet another brilliant movie. Again, like Albert Pinto, Mohan Joshi Hazir Ho is not available officially on DVD. I have a digital copy, and it's quite easily available on YouTube. There are a couple of links to the movie on in YouTube. So do watch it from there. But it's a brilliant movie, and again, as always, Saeed Mirza is a representative of the underdog, of the common man, of the individual who is fighting his own battle to survive. Whether it is an Arvind Desai fighting his inner battles to survive, whether it is an Albert Pinto fighting as a minority to survive in society, whether it is Mohan Joshi fighting as a tenant trying to survive in this heartless city. This individual approach of Saeed Mirza, I think, was a very distinct part of his cinema, and that spoke to his audience at a very personal level. The next movie that Saeed Mirza made again brought him a lot of recognition. It was the movie called Salim Langde Pe Matro, and had an absolutely brilliant performance by Pawan Malhotra in the title role of Salim. And it's about this Muslim youth who's pushed to a life of crime with the rising communalism around him, and the ghettos of Bombay were so brilliantly explored and examined by Saeed Mirza through his movies. And Salim Langda again is this character who one feels sorry for. He's like Albert Pinto. He is trying to establish his identity. He's trying to find his own place in a very heartless, in a very communal society, and eventually leads him to a life of crime, and he pays up, quite heavily for the consequences. It's a fantastic movie, again in true Saeed Mirza style, a very gritty and hard-hitting movie, Salim Langde Pe Matro. The last movie Saeed Mirza made was in 1995. It was made in the wake of what Mirza himself describes as the final fall of secularism in the country, with the demolition of the Babri Masjid in 1992. And that had a huge impact on Saeed Mirza. And he called his last film Naseem almost as an epitaph, saying that I really have nothing more to say after this. Naseem is this wonderful film, heartfelt film, starring Kaifi Azmi and Mayuri Kango playing the lead role of Naseem. And it's a story of the relationship of a grandfather and his young granddaughter, with the backdrop of this fall of secularism, this rise of communalism, and the terrible changing scenario of the country. It's a wonderful movie, beautiful performance by Mayuri Kango as well as Kaifi Azmi. But somewhere along the line, the sadness or the despair or the sense of resignation that Saeed Mirza felt as an individual is reflected in this movie. And it really isn't an air of defeat, but it's more a sign of someone having resigned to fate. It's Naseem, atmospherically bears that cross. And of course, Naseem was greatly appreciated, and it won the Best Feature Film award, the National Award for the Best Feature Film. And I think Saeed Mirza also got a Best Director's Award for Naseem. It's a wonderful film, no doubt, but it was almost like a sad closing statement by a great filmmaker. Not a very prolific maker, as you will realize. In 17 years, Saeed Mirza made just 5 movies. But the great thing is, each and every movie of his speaks to you individually, as a person, as a part of society that we all belong to. अरविंद देसाई की अजीब दास्तान, एल्बर्ट पिंटो को गुस्सा क्यों आता है, मोहन जोशी हाजिर हो, सलीम लंगड़े पे मत रो, and Naseem are perhaps 5 people of India who we all know. They are not strangers. They are people who are known to us. They are people we can identify with. They are people we have met. And they are people whose life so interests a filmmaker like Saeed Mirza. Saeed Mirza, after 95, when he stopped making movies, he started on a journey across India, meeting people and documenting his journey. And some of that was documented in a wonderful documentary made on Saeed Mirza called The Leftist Sufi. Now, the documentary was premiered on Netflix in 2016, I think. But unfortunately, after a couple of years, it's been discontinued for whatever reasons. It's not available anywhere, neither on Netflix nor on YouTube. I have seen the documentary 3 or 4 times, and I absolutely love it. I'm sure some of you would have seen it, but those of you who have not seen the documentary, I can tell you that you are missing out on a wonderful tribute and a wonderful feature on this great human being and filmmaker, Saeed Mirza. Saeed Mirza has written a couple of very, very good books. One is his ode to his mother, called Ammi, Letters to a Democratic Mother, which is a wonderful read. His style of writing is so personal, just like his cinema, and it's almost as if he's talking to you on an individual basis. The style of writing is that intimate and individual. And he wrote another book in 2018 called Memory in the Age of Amnesia, another great book which sort of gives you a reflection of who the man behind the filmmaker is. And it's Saeed Mirza speaking his mind, speaking from his heart. Both are wonderful reads, and along with his movies, I think both these books are a beautiful way of finding out the persona behind the filmmaker, the persona that Saeed Mirza is. As someone who's a huge fan of Saeed Mirza, I do hope that he comes out of his reclusion and makes at least one more movie. I think the current scenario and the current situation is perhaps ideal for someone like Saeed Mirza to come and voice his feelings and his opinions on what's happening in the country today, and make a movie about it. It would, I'm sure, be a great movie. I hope you liked this video. It's a video very close to my heart, because it's about a filmmaker who is very close to my heart. I hope you do see some of his movies. All his movies are available. Out of the 5, 3 are officially available on DVD and also on OTT channels, and the other 2, Albert Pinto Ko Gussa Kyun Aata Hai and Mohan Joshi Hazir Ho, are available online on YouTube. Do watch his movies and discover one of the finest filmmakers to come out of India, Saeed Mirza. That's all for this week. Until the next time, bye for now.